All right, welcome back to Mindset Rebuild. We're diving deep once again, folks. I'm Alan.
And I'm Rebecca.
And if you're here with us, you're likely a leader, an entrepreneur, or aspiring to be one, looking to truly master your mindset and unlock that potential within you to become, well, the calm and visionary CEO you're meant to be. And that's exactly what Mindset Rebuild is all about, giving you the tools and strategies to make that happen. So if you haven't already, head over to mindsetrebuild.substack.com and hit that subscribe button. You definitely won't want to miss out on the insights we're sharing in these deep dives.
Today we're taking a look at a really interesting piece called Mindset Minute from Intrinsic coach Warren.
Yeah, this one is all about mental efficiency. How can we optimize our cognitive resources? Make our minds work smarter, not harder.
Right from the get-go, Intrinsic coach Warren lays out this challenge that so many of us face in today's world. The sheer volume of thoughts and decisions we have to grapple with every single day, it's overwhelming. Like, seriously, think about it. It's like we're trying to run this incredibly complex operation, but our mental workspace is completely cluttered.
He actually uses this brilliant analogy of our minds being like a disorganized factory floor, just buzzing with constant activity, stuff happening everywhere, no clear system. And as anyone who's ever managed a team or run a business knows, that kind of chaos just leads to wasted energy, mistakes, and ultimately feeling completely drained.
Oh, that factory image is so spot on, isn't it? You can practically see the wasted effort, the duplicated tasks, the general sense of overwhelm. It's like everyone's running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Exactly. And you know what I really appreciate about Intrinsic Coach Warren's approach? He doesn't just tell us what's wrong. He actually offers a solution, a practical one, and kind of surprising, to be honest.
Yeah, the solution he proposes is really intriguing. It's all about taking inspiration from something we usually associate with physical tasks, robots, and automation.
Right, like who would have thought we could learn from robots to improve our own thinking? But it makes so much sense.
So he's saying we can apply those same principles of automation, that make factories and systems so efficient, and apply them to our own mental processes.
Exactly. It's like streamlining the way we make decisions and process information so we can free up our mental energy for the truly important stuff, the things that really need our full attention and brain power. For those strategic decisions, those creative breakthroughs. This is about taking our mental operating system and giving it a serious upgrade.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit more. You mentioned the brain as an operating system. Intrinsic coach Warren also compares it to an overloaded factory. What are the key takeaways from these analogies that we need to grasp?
Well, I think the operating system analogy is brilliant because it highlights how much our minds are constantly multitasking, right?
Yeah.
Like a computer with a million tabs open, we're juggling thoughts, responding to notifications, switching between tasks. And just like with a computer, all that switching comes at a cost. Our mental energy gets drained, things slow down, and eventually the whole system crashes.
Makes sense. And the factory analogy adds another layer to that, right? It emphasizes the chaos and inefficiency that results from a lack of clear processes and systems. Imagine a factory where every single step requires a new on-the-spot decision.
Oh, it'd be a nightmare. Total chaos. Parts all over the place, people bumping into each other, production grinding to a halt. And that's often what our minds feel like when we're constantly reacting to every little thing, making decisions on the fly without any real structure or intention. It's exhausting.
Absolutely. And so this understanding of how our brains can get bogged down by constant reactivity is really the foundation for Intrinsic coach Warren's concept of mental automation, which you mentioned earlier is really at the heart of his strategy. So how does he connect the dots between physical automation, like we see in factories and warehouses, and the kind of mental efficiency we can develop?
Well, think about a modern warehouse, right? You've got robots handling all the repetitive, predictable tasks, moving packages, sorting inventory, all that stuff. And that frees up the human workers to focus on the more complex, strategic work like problem solving, optimizing processes, and innovating.
So he's suggesting that we can do the same with our brains. Identify those repetitive mental tasks that we do on autopilot and find ways to, automate them, just like those warehouse robots.
Precisely. By automating those low-value, repetitive mental tasks, we free up our cognitive resources, our brain power, to focus on the things that really matter, the things that require our unique human abilities, strategy, creativity, complex decision-making. It's about giving our brains the space to do what they do best.
Okay, so what does this reaction mode that we're trying to escape actually look like in our daily lives? What are some of the specific negative consequences that Intrinsic coach Warren highlights?
He really breaks it down into three main issues.
Mm.
The first one is cognitive overload, which is basically just mental exhaustion. You know that feeling when your brain is just fried at the end of the day, but not necessarily from hard work, but from the sheer volume of decisions you've had to make, big and small.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. It's like your brain is running on fumes.
Exactly. And then there's distraction loops. That's when we're constantly jumping from one thought to another, one notification to another, never really focusing on anything deeply. It's like our attention's being pulled in a million different directions. And of course, all this leads to wasted energy, spending all our time and mental effort just reacting, just deciding what to do next instead of proactively working on our priorities.
It's like we're stuck in this constant state of busy work, but not actually accomplishing anything truly meaningful.
And, it can be really subtle, too. Like, think about how much time you might waste just deciding what to have for lunch each day. Seems small, but those little decisions add up, and they drain our mental energy without us even realizing it.
It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, mentally speaking.
Precisely.
So this brings us to Intrinsic Coach Warren's solution, the cognitive automation method. What's the key principle behind this approach?
Well, at its core, the cognitive automation method is based on the idea that our brains, just like any well-designed system, thrive on efficiency and predictability. But here's the thing. We often create unnecessary mental clutter for ourselves, by overthinking routine tasks, dwelling on unproductive thoughts, getting caught in those reactive cycles we talked about. And so what Intrinsic Coach Warren suggests is that we can actually train our minds to eliminate this unnecessary cognitive load, to clear out the clutter and focus our attention on the things that truly matter.
It's almost like decluttering our minds, just like we declutter our homes or our workspaces.
Exactly. And he gives us a really practical framework for doing this, his three-step thought streamlining system.
Okay, let's break down those steps. The first step is identifying recurring mental loops. How do we effectively pinpoint those energy-draining thought patterns?
So the key here is awareness, right? Becoming more conscious of those mental tasks that are just sucking up our time and energy without actually adding much value. Intrinsic Coach Warren gives some great examples that I think a lot of us can relate to. That automatic habit of checking our phones first thing in the morning and getting lost in the social media scroll, or endlessly debating small decisions like what to wear or what to eat, or those repetitive worries about things we can't control.
So basically, any thought pattern that feels like it's on repeat, draining our energy without moving us forward.
Exactly. And the full step is really simple but powerful. Make a list of these mental loops. Where does your mind go on autopilot? What are the small decisions you find yourself agonizing over? Just bringing those thoughts into conscious awareness is a huge first step.
That's so true. Sometimes just the act of writing it down can make us realize how much mental energy we're wasting on these unproductive thoughts. Okay, so what's the second step in the system?
Step 2 is all about establishing default decisions. And here, Intrinsic Coach Warren brings back the robot analogy. He points out that automated systems operate based on pre-programmed rules. They don't waste time or energy reevaluating the same situations over and over again.
It's like they're programmed to just do what needs to be done without overthinking it.
Exactly. And he encourages us to adopt a similar approach for the repetitive, low-stakes decisions in our own lives. Like, instead of agonizing over what to eat every morning, plan your meals in advance. Set specific times for exercise and stick to them. Create designated screen-free hours. By establishing these default decisions, we eliminate the mental friction of having to make the same choices over and over again.
It's like taking those decisions off our mental to-do list completely.
Exactly. And that frees up our mental bandwidth for more important things.
I love that. It's so practical. Okay, so what about step 3? Triggering flow state on demand. What's the secret to getting into that zone of focus and productivity more easily?
This one is all about understanding how our brains work and then using that knowledge to our advantage. Intrinsic Coach Warren talks about how AI systems learn from feedback and optimize their performance over time, and he suggests that our brains can do the same when it comes to concentration.
So it's about figuring out what helps us focus and then intentionally creating those conditions.
Exactly. Think about those times when you've been most productive and focused. What were the circumstances? Were you listening to certain music? Was it a particular time of day? Were you in a specific environment? The key is to become aware of those patterns and then intentionally recreate them.
So it's like creating a ritual to signal to our brains that it's time to get into that flow state.
Exactly. Like putting on noise-canceling headphones, doing a quick meditation, reviewing your top priorities for the day, anything that helps you shift gears mentally and get into that zone of deep focus. The point is to create a consistent trigger that tells your brain, okay, it's time to lock in and get to work.
It's fascinating how we can actually train our brains to be more focused and productive, just like we train our bodies. So we've identified the mental clutter, we've automated the routine decisions, and we've created a trigger for flow state. Intrinsic Coach Warren then goes on to explain why the system is so effective. Let's dive into the science behind it a little bit.
Right. He highlights three main benefits that are really rooted in neuroscience. The first one is reducing decision fatigue. He points out that our brains have a limited capacity for making good decisions each day, and every decision we make, no matter how small, uses up some of that capacity. So by automating those smaller, less important decisions, we're essentially conserving our mental energy for the decisions that really matter. He even cites research, with a one reference to back up this idea of limited decision-making power.
It makes so much sense. It's like our willpower is a muscle that gets tired with overuse. So the more decisions we can take off our plate, the more energy we have left for the big ones.
Yeah.
And what's the second benefit?
The second one is strengthening habit formation. By repeatedly making those default decisions, those predetermined choices, we're actually strengthening the neural pathways in our brains associated with those behaviors.
Yeah.
It's like we're creating mental shortcuts that make it easier and easier to do those things without even thinking about it. Again, he backs this up with a two-citation, referencing the neuroscience behind habit formation.
Because it's like we're literally rewiring our brains for efficiency.
Exactly. And the third benefit is that by using pre-work rituals, we can trigger that flow state, that state of deep focus and productivity more quickly and reliably. It's like creating a mental shortcut that tells our brains, okay, it's time to get in the zone. And this, of course, leads to a boost in productivity. And again, he sets a source for the three reference to support this.
So it's all about understanding how our brains work and then using that understanding to optimize our mental performance.
I love it. What's the overall message Intrinsic Coach Warren wants to leave us with regarding this concept of mental automation?
I think the big takeaway is that by becoming more conscious of our mental processes, by stepping back from that constant state of reaction and overthinking, we can really unlock a whole new level of mental efficiency and effectiveness. And it's like shifting from being a passenger in our own minds to being the driver, taking control and steering our thoughts and actions in the direction we want to go.
It's a powerful shift in perspective. It's about moving from feeling overwhelmed and reactive to feeling empowered and proactive. And Intrinsic Coach Warren offers a really specific challenge for our listeners, doesn't he? He does. He challenges us to pick just one daily decision that we can automate for an entire week. He gives some examples like what to eat for breakfast, what time to work out, or even how to start our workday. The point is to simply choose a default and stick to it no matter what for a whole week and see what happens. He suggests that even this small change can free up a noticeable amount of mental energy that we can then redirect to more important things.
It's a great challenge. It's simple, it's actionable, and it allows us to experience the benefits of mental automation firsthand. And how does Intrinsic Coach Warren conclude his Mindset Minute? What's that final thought he leaves us with?
He ends with a really powerful statement. Robots don't waste energy on unnecessary decisions. Why should you? Set your focus on autopilot and start operating at peak mental efficiency. It's a great reminder that we have the power to choose how we use our mental energy.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening, take Intrinsic Coach Warren's challenge to heart. Think about one area where you can implement this idea of mental automation, even if it's just for a week, and see how it impacts your focus, your productivity, and your overall sense of well-being. By implementing these principles, you can experience the power of a truly focused and efficient mind, which is essential for any leader or entrepreneur who wants to achieve their full potential. And for more strategies to help you cultivate that calm, visionary CEO mindset, be sure to subscribe to Mindset Rebuild at mindsetrebuild.substack.com.
And here's a final thought to ponder. Think about all the decisions, big and small, that you make every single day. Now consider how many of those decisions are actually moving you closer to your most important goals. What if you could reclaim some of that mental space and redirect it towards what truly matters in your life and your business? That's the incredible potential of mental automation. It's about taking control of your mind and using it as a powerful tool to achieve your goals and live a more fulfilling life.
So let's all commit to becoming the CEOs of our own minds. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into mental efficiency. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.